Okay, now we get to transition to actual big data technologies and talk about Cloud PubSub. First, a quick introduction to Cloud PubSub. So, in order to really understand PubSub, I think we should first talk about the difference between tightly and loosely coupled messaging systems and why this is important for understanding the role of a message bus like PubSub. So imagine that we have a sender and a receiver, such as a database and a server of some sort. The sender is sending messages or data to the receiver, and in this setup, the sender is directly connected to the receiver. So every time a message is sent, it immediately has to be processed by the receiver. This is a tightly coupled system. The problem here is that if the receiver is down or slow, the entire system can fail or become bottlenecked. There's no flexibility, no buffer. It's just a direct line from point A to point B. If one point fails, the whole communication breaks down. In contrast, imagine the sender and the receiver again, but this time with a vehicle between them. So we can call this a message bus, or what we might call a buffer, between the sender and the receiver. Here, the messages are placed into a queue on the message bus. The sender can send as many messages as needed without worrying about whether the receiver is ready to process them immediately. This design allows the system to be much more fault tolerant and scalable, because if the receiver is temporarily unavailable, the messages can wait in the queue and the receiver can process them when it's ready. So this is called a loosely coupled system, and it is more fault tolerant and scalable. PubSub is this message bus. It creates loosely coupled messaging systems. It decouples the sender and the receiver by allowing messages to be published to a topic where multiple receivers or subscribers can then access those messages as they need to. This architecture is crucial for building reliable, scalable, and efficient systems, especially in cloud environments where components need to work independently and asynchronously, and especially when we're talking about big data. Understanding this distinction between tightly and loosely coupled systems helps us to appreciate the advantages of tools like PubSub in our applications to create more resilient and flexible communication between different parts of our system. So simply stated, PubSub is a global scale messaging service that allows communication between different systems by decoupling senders and receivers, making these systems more reliable. It helps to convert tightly coupled systems into loosely coupled systems, providing that buffer in the middle. And since it's serverless, there's no need to worry about managing infrastructure. Google handles all of that. PubSub is the GCP version of Apache Kafka, which is the open source messaging system in the Apache ecosystem. The key difference is that with PubSub, Google takes care of the underlying infrastructure, making it easier to manage and scale. PubSub is often used for data ingestion. This means that it can take in large amounts of data from multiple sources and buffer it for processing. It's useful for situations where you have streams of data coming in and you want to decouple the producers of that data from the systems processing it. PubSub can also connect to other pipeline services like Dataflow. It's often used in this way, actually. So once PubSub collects and buffers the data, it can forward the data to Dataflow for real-time processing or transformations, creating an efficient data pipeline. And Dataflow is something that we will cover later in the course as well in more detail. So that's our introduction to PubSub before we go into the details.